Patricia's hands shook as she signed the marriage certificate. The man beside her, Ronald K. Taylor, 45, billionaire lawyer worth $3 billion, hadn't looked at her once during the ceremony. Cold. Distant. A complete stranger in a $1,000 suit. But when he leaned close and whispered his one condition, her pen stopped mid-signature. Her breath caught. Because what he demanded wasn't money. Wasn't loyalty. Wasn't even respect. It was something she'd never expected. Something that would change everything. What do you think he asked for? Drop your guess in the comments. And if you're new here, welcome. Hit that like button, subscribe, and comment below telling me where you're watching from. To my returning viewers, thank you for being here. You're the reason I keep telling these stories. Now settle in, because this one's going to take you on a ride. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the end. Patricia W. McKee had never imagined her wedding day would feel like a funeral. She stood in a private room at Charleston's most exclusive courthouse, staring at her reflection in a full-length mirror. The dress her father had sent over that morning hung on her frame like borrowed skin, cream silk, elegant, expensive, and completely wrong. It wasn't white. That felt intentional. Like even the dress knew this wasn't a real marriage. 33 years old, and this was how her life had turned out. Her phone buzzed. Another text from her father. Don't mess this up, Patricia. Our entire family depends on you. She wanted to throw the phone across the room. Wanted to scream. Wanted to run. But where would she go? Her father's business had collapsed 6 months ago. Debts piled so high they'd lost everything. The house, the cars, her younger brother's college fund. Everything. And then Ronald K. Taylor had appeared like some kind of dark savior. Billionaire. Corporate lawyer. The man who'd made his fortune destroying companies in court and rebuilding them into empires. He'd offered her father a deal, marry his daughter to him, and all debts would be erased. The family would be saved. Her father hadn't even asked her opinion. He'd just said yes. Have you ever felt trapped with no way out? Tell me in the comments. The door opened. Her father walked in, looking older than his 60 years. Grayer. More worn down. You look beautiful, he said, but his voice was flat. I look like I'm being sold, Patricia shot back. Her father flinched. That's not fair. Isn't it? She turned to face him fully. You agreed to marry me off to a man I've never even met. A man 12 years older than me who probably sees me as some kind of transaction. Ronald Taylor is a good man. You don't know that. You know he's rich. That's all you know. Patricia's voice cracked despite her efforts to stay strong. Ma would be so disappointed in you right now. Mentioning her mother was a low blow, and she knew it. Her father's face crumpled. Her mother had died 5 years ago from cancer, and not a day went by that Patricia didn't miss her. Her mom had been her best friend, her confidant, the one person who'd always believed she could do anything. And now here she was, about to marry a stranger to save her father's pride. Your mother would understand, her father said quietly. She'd understand that sometimes we do hard things for family. No. Patricia shook her head. Mama would tell me to run. She'd tell me I'm worth more than this. You are worth more than this. But right now, we need this. Your brother needs this. He's 17, Patricia. If we lose everything, he loses his future. And there it was. The guilt. The weight of responsibility she'd been carrying since her mother died. Taking care of everyone. Putting herself last. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. What do you even know about him? She asked. Besides the money? Her father pulled out his phone and showed her a photo. Patricia's breath caught despite herself. Ronald K. Taylor was striking. Not classically handsome, but powerful looking. Tall, she could tell even from the photo. Dark hair with silver threading through it at the temples. Sharp jawline. Intense gray eyes that seemed to look right through the camera. He wore a Navy suit that probably cost more than she used to make in 6 months as a teacher. 45 years old. Never remarried after his first wife died 8 years ago in a car accident. No children. Built his law firm from nothing into one of the most feared corporate litigation practices in the country. Worth an estimated $3 billion. A stranger. A powerful, wealthy stranger who wanted to marry her for reasons she couldn't begin to understand. Why me? Patricia whispered. Why does he want to marry me specifically? He could have anyone. Her father looked away. I don't know. He never said. That made it worse somehow. Not knowing. Being chosen for unknown reasons by a man who probably saw her as just another acquisition. A knock at the door made them both jump. It's time, a woman's voice called through. Patricia's heart hammered against her ribs. This was really happening. In a few minutes, she'd be Mrs. Patricia Taylor. Married to a billionaire she'd never spoken to. Her father offered his arm. She took it because what else could she do? The walk down the courthouse hallway felt endless. Her heels clicked against marble floors. Everything was too quiet, too cold, too wrong. They entered a small ceremonial room. Elegant but impersonal. A judge waited at the front. A few witnesses she didn't recognize stood off to the side, probably Ronald's people. And there he was. Ronald K. Taylor stood near the judge, hands clasped in front of him, looking like he was about to negotiate a business merger instead of get married. He wore a charcoal gray suit that fit him perfectly. His expression was completely unreadable. When Patricia entered, his eyes found her immediately. The intensity of his gaze almost made her stumble. He didn't smile, didn't nod, just watched her with those sharp gray eyes as she walked toward him. Up close, he was even more imposing. Easily 6'3", broad shoulders. The kind of presence that commanded a room without saying a word. Everything about him screamed power and control. And she was about to promise to love, honor, and obey this man. What would you do in Patricia's position? Let me know below. The ceremony began. The judge spoke words Patricia barely heard. Something about commitment and partnership and legal binding. It all felt surreal. Like watching someone else's life happen. Do you, Ronald K. Taylor, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. His voice was deep, measured, completely emotionless. Do you, Patricia W. McKee, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? Patricia's throat closed up. She looked at Ronald. Really looked at him. Searching for something. Kindness, warmth, anything human. His expression hadn't changed. Cool. Detached. A stranger. I do, she whispered. Then by the power vested in me by the state of South Carolina, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Patricia's stomach dropped. Of course. The kiss. She'd somehow not thought about this part. Ronald stepped closer. For the first time, something flickered in his eyes. Hesitation. Doubt. But then it was gone, and he was leaning down. His hand came up to cup her jaw, surprisingly gentle, and then his lips were on hers. The kiss was brief. Chaste. His lips were warm and soft, and for one impossible second, Patricia felt something spark between them. Something electric and terrifying and completely unwelcome. Then he pulled back, and the moment shattered. Congratulations, the judge said with a professional smile. Patricia felt numb as she signed the marriage certificate. Her hand moved on autopilot. Signing her life away. Binding herself to this stranger. Ronald signed next. His signature was bold and decisive. Of course it was. And just like that, it was done. She was married. The witnesses clapped politely. Her father hugged her, whispering, "Thank you," into her hair. She felt nothing. Ronald shook her father's hand. The debt is cleared as of now. You'll have written confirmation by tomorrow morning. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Ronald, he corrected coolly. We're family now. Family. The word sounded wrong coming from his mouth. Patricia's father left after a few more awkward exchanges. The witnesses dispersed. And suddenly, Patricia was alone with her new husband in the quiet courthouse room. Ronald turned to her. We should talk. About what? Patricia's voice came out sharper than she intended. About how you just bought yourself a wife. About how I'm apparently worth however many millions my father owed. Something dangerous flashed in Ronald's eyes. I didn't buy you. Then what would you call this? A mutually beneficial arrangement. Patricia laughed, but there was no humor in it. Beneficial for who? You got a wife you don't even want. I got trapped in a marriage I didn't choose. Real beneficial. You think I wanted this? Ronald's voice remained level, but she heard steel underneath. You think I woke up one day and decided to marry a stranger? Then why did you? He studied her for a long moment. That's complicated. We've got time, Patricia shot back. Or are you planning to just ship me off to one of your properties and forget I exist? Actually, Ronald said slowly, that brings me to my condition. Patricia froze. Your condition? Yes. There's something I need from you. Something non-negotiable. Her heart started pounding. What could a billionaire possibly need from her? Her mind raced through terrible possibilities. He was older. Maybe he wanted children. An heir. Maybe that's why he'd chosen someone younger. What? She asked, hating how small her voice sounded. Ronald's gray eyes locked on hers. When he spoke, his words were careful, deliberate. I need you to pretend to love me. Patricia blinked. What? In public. In front of my family, my colleagues, everyone. I need you to act like we're madly in love. Like this is real. Of all the things she'd expected, that wasn't it. Why? Ronald's jaw tightened. My mother is dying. Cancer. The doctors give her 6 months at most. She's been begging me to find love again since my first wife died. She wants to see me happy before she goes. Patricia's anger deflated slightly. I'm sorry about your mother, but... I told her I'd met someone, Ronald continued, his voice flat. I told her I was getting married. It gave her something to hold on to. Hope. I can't take that away from her now. So you married a complete stranger to make your dying mother happy? Patricia couldn't keep the incredulity out of her voice. I married someone whose family needed help. Your father's debt gave me an opportunity to solve 2 problems at once. That's the most romantic thing I've ever heard, Patricia said sarcastically. Ronald's expression hardened. I'm not asking you to actually love me, Patricia. I'm asking you to act. In public, you smile at me. You hold my hand. You act like a devoted wife. That's all. And in private? In private, we can be strangers. I have a house in Charleston, 8 bedrooms, plenty of space. You'll have your own wing. We won't have to interact if you don't want to. Patricia's head spun. This was insane. All of it. Let me get this straight. You want me to play the role of loving wife in front of your dying mother and anyone else who matters, but behind closed doors, we just, what? Ignore each other. Essentially, yes. For how long? Ronald's pause told her everything. Until my mother passes. After that, we can divorce quietly. I'll make sure you're taken care of financially. You'll never have to worry about money again. So that was it. A performance. A lie wrapped in expensive silk and legal documents. Patricia wanted to say no. Wanted to tell him to go to hell. But then she thought about her brother. About her father finally being free of debt. About the security this could provide. And she thought about Ronald's mother. Dying. Wanting her son to be happy. Could you pretend to love someone you just met? Drop your answer below. What exactly does pretending to love you involve? She asked carefully. Public affection. Hand-holding. Sitting close at family dinners. You'd need to learn about my life, my work, so you can speak knowledgeably. We'd need to sell the story that we met and fell quickly in love. How did we supposedly meet? Ronald had clearly thought this through. At a charity gala 6 months ago. You were there with your school. You're a teacher, correct? Was. I lost my job when my father's business collapsed. Budget cuts. Something flickered in Ronald's expression. Sympathy. But it was gone before she could be sure. We'll say you still teach. We connected over education reform. It's one of my firm's pro bono focuses. We started talking, couldn't stop. I pursued you. You resisted at first, but I wore you down. How romantic, Patricia said dryly. It needs to be believable. And your mother, she'll believe we fell in love in 6 months? She wants to believe, Ronald said quietly. That's enough. Patricia looked at this man, her husband, and tried to imagine touching him affectionately. Smiling at him like he made her happy. Lying to a dying woman about loving her son. I need rules, she said finally. Ronald's eyebrow raised slightly. Rules. If I'm going to do this, we need boundaries. Clear expectations. Agreed. What do you want? Patricia's mind raced. Separate bedrooms. You said that already, but I want it in writing. No expectations of physical intimacy. Agreed. I want access to education. If I'm going to be able to talk intelligently about your world, I need to learn. And I want to go back to school. Maybe get my master's degree. Done. I'll cover all expenses. I want my own money. Not an allowance. A real income that I control. Ronald nodded slowly. I'll set up an account in your name. Monthly deposits. Enough that you never have to ask me for anything. And when your mother... Patricia couldn't finish the sentence. When she passes, Ronald said gently, we wait a respectful amount of time, maybe 6 months. Then we divorce quietly. You get a settlement. Enough to set you up for life. You walk away free. Free. The word hung between them. Okay, Patricia heard herself say. I'll do it. Ronald extended his hand. A business deal. That's all this was. Patricia shook it. His grip was firm, warm, surprisingly gentle. We should go, he said. I told my mother we'd visit this evening. She wants to meet you. Panic flared. Tonight? Already. The sooner we start, the more convincing we'll be. Ronald's expression softened almost imperceptibly. She's at my home. Her hospice care is set up there. She's weak, Patricia. This might be one of the last times she's well enough for visitors. The weight of what she'd agreed to settled over Patricia like a heavy coat. She was about to lie to a dying woman. Pretend to love a man she didn't know. Play a role that might be the only bright spot in someone's final days. Then we should go, she whispered. Ronald offered his arm. Patricia took it, feeling the solid strength of him beneath the expensive fabric of his suit. They walked out of the courthouse together. A sleek black Mercedes waited at the curb. A driver opened the back door. Patricia slid in, and Ronald followed. The car pulled away from the courthouse, carrying her toward a life she'd never imagined. Toward a house she'd never seen. Toward a dying woman she'd have to convince she was in love with her son. Patricia looked down at her left hand. A diamond ring now sat there, simple, elegant, expensive. Ronald must have slipped it on during the ceremony. She didn't even remember. When did you? She started to ask. During the vows, Ronald said, following her gaze. You seemed far away. I wasn't sure you noticed. I didn't. They sat in silence as the car glided through Charleston's historic streets. Spanish moss hung from ancient oak trees. Beautiful homes with wraparound porches passed by like postcards from someone else's life. Finally, the car turned down a private drive. Patricia's breath caught. Ronald's house was a mansion. A 3-story antebellum estate with massive white columns and sprawling gardens. Lights glowed warmly from inside, making it look like something from a movie. "This is where you live?" she asked. "This is where we live," Ronald corrected. "It's your home now too." Your home. 2 words that felt impossible. The car stopped. The driver opened Patricia's door. She stepped out onto cobblestones, her heels clicking in the quiet evening air. Ronald came around the car and offered his hand. Patricia took it, telling herself it was just practice. Just part of the act. But his hand was warm, and when his fingers laced through hers, something in her chest tightened. "Ready?" he asked. No. She wasn't ready. She'd never be ready. But she nodded anyway. They walked toward the front door together. Husband and wife. Strangers pretending at something real. The door opened before they reached it. A woman in her 50s stood there, housekeeper, Patricia guessed from her neat appearance. "Welcome home, Mr. Taylor," the woman said warmly. Then her eyes found Patricia, and her whole face lit up. "And you must be Patricia. Oh, we're so glad you're here. Mrs. Taylor has been talking about nothing else all day." Mrs. Taylor. That was her now. "Thank you." Patricia trailed off, not knowing the woman's name. "Martha," the woman supplied kindly. "I manage the household. Anything you need, you just ask me, dear." "Thank you, Martha." They stepped into a grand foyer. Marble floors. A sweeping staircase. Art that probably cost more than Patricia's childhood home. "She's in the sunroom," Martha said to Ronald. "She's having a good day. Very alert." Ronald nodded, his expression unreadable. But Patricia saw his hand tighten on hers. Just slightly. He was nervous, she realized. This powerful, controlled man was nervous about his mother meeting her. It made him seem almost human. They walked through the house, Patricia barely taking in the beautiful rooms they passed. Her heart hammered. What would she say? How should she act? "Just be yourself," Ronald murmured, as if reading her thoughts. "She'll like you. You don't even know me." "I know enough." Before Patricia could ask what that meant, they entered a bright, airy room filled with plants and comfortable furniture. Soft classical music played from hidden speakers. And there, in a recliner near the windows, sat a small woman wrapped in blankets despite the warm evening. Ronald's mother. She was beautiful despite her illness. High cheekbones. Kind eyes. Skin pale and paper-thin, but her smile when she saw them was radiant. "Ronnie," she said warmly, her voice thin but strong. "You're home." Ronnie. Patricia filed that away. This formidable billionaire lawyer was called Ronnie by his mother. "Hi, Mom." Ronald's voice changed completely. Softened. Filled with love. "I brought someone to meet you." His mother's eyes found Patricia, and tears immediately filled them. "Oh, Ronnie. She's beautiful." Ronald guided Patricia closer. "Mom, this is Patricia. My wife." "Wife," his mother breathed. "I still can't believe it. My boy, married again. Finally." Patricia forced herself to smile. To step forward. To take this dying woman's frail hand in hers. "It's so wonderful to meet you, Mrs. Taylor," she said, and was surprised to find she meant it. There was something instantly lovable about this woman. "Eleanor," Ronald's mother corrected. "Please, call me Eleanor. We're family now." Her eyes sparkled. "Tell me everything. How did he propose? Was it romantic? I bet he was nervous. He gets so serious when he's nervous." Patricia looked at Ronald helplessly. They hadn't prepared a proposal story. But Ronald stepped in smoothly. I proposed at the restaurant where we had our first date. Took her back there, got down on one knee right in the middle of dinner. Oh, that's perfect. Eleanor's smile was huge. And you said yes right away? Actually, Patricia heard herself say, I made him wait. Ronald's eyebrow quirked. Surprise. I wanted to be sure, Patricia continued, finding her footing in the story. This was my first marriage. I needed to know he was serious. That it wasn't just some impulsive decision. Smart girl, Eleanor said approvingly. My Ronnie can be impulsive when he wants something. Did he tell you about the time he decided to buy a law firm on a Tuesday and had the deal closed by Friday? Mom, Ronald protested, but there was warmth in his voice. Eleanor laughed, which turned into a cough. Ronald immediately moved closer, helping her sit up, grabbing water from the side table. The tenderness in his movements made Patricia's throat tight. This was real. His love for his mother was completely, utterly real. Which made their lie so much worse. Could you lie to someone this kind? Share your thoughts. I'm okay, Eleanor said once she caught her breath. Just excited. This is the best day I've had in months. She looked at Patricia. Sit with me, dear. I want to know everything about the woman who finally captured my son's heart. Patricia sat in the chair Ronald pulled over for her. He stood behind her, his hand coming to rest on her shoulder. The touch felt possessive, protective, like he was claiming her as his. It was all an act. She had to remember that. What do you want to know? Patricia asked. Everything. Where are you from? What do you do? How did you know Ronnie was the one? Patricia took a breath and began to weave the story they'd created. She talked about being a teacher, about meeting Ronald at a charity gala, about how he'd pursued her with surprising determination. He sent flowers to my classroom, she improvised. Every day for 2 weeks. My students thought it was the most romantic thing they'd ever seen. Ronald's hand squeezed her shoulder. Approval? Or surprise at how easily she was lying? Eleanor ate up every word. She asked questions about their first kiss. Patricia made up something about a rainy evening and an umbrella. About when Patricia knew she loved him, she said something vague about feeling safe, about their plans for the future. Children? Eleanor asked hopefully. Will you give me grandchildren? The question hit Patricia like a punch. She and Ronald hadn't discussed this. How could they? Their marriage had an expiration date. We're taking things one step at a time, Ronald said smoothly. Right now, we're just enjoying being married. But you'll think about it? Eleanor pressed. I know I'm being pushy, but I'd love to know my son will have a family after I'm. She didn't finish, but the implication hung heavy in the air. We'll think about it, Patricia found herself saying, even though it was another lie added to the pile. They stayed for another hour. Eleanor asked Patricia about her family, her childhood, her dreams. And Patricia found herself telling the truth more often than she expected. About losing her mother. About how much she missed teaching. About wanting to make a difference in the world. Eleanor listened with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions, making Patricia feel seen in a way she hadn't in a long time. By the time Martha came to help Eleanor to bed, Patricia felt exhausted from the emotional performance. But Eleanor was glowing. Thank you for coming, Eleanor said, squeezing Patricia's hand. Having you here, seeing Ronnie so happy, it means everything to me. Guilt crashed over Patricia in waves. This woman was dying, and they were lying to her. Giving her false hope. False happiness. We'll visit again soon, Ronald promised, kissing his mother's forehead. Bring her back tomorrow, Eleanor said. I want to show her Ronnie's baby pictures. Ronald actually smiled. A real smile that transformed his entire face. Mom, no. Oh yes. She needs to see what a chubby baby you were. Patricia couldn't help but smile too. The image of serious, controlled Ronald as a chubby baby was absurdly endearing. They said their goodbyes. Martha wheeled Eleanor out of the sunroom, and suddenly Patricia and Ronald were alone again. The silence felt enormous. "You did well," Ronald said finally. "I lied to your dying mother. You made her happy. That's what matters." Patricia wanted to argue, but what was the point? She'd agreed to this. Signed up for it. Made a deal. "Come on," Ronald said. "I'll show you to your room." They walked upstairs in silence. The second floor was just as grand as the first. Ronald led her down a hallway lined with artwork and antiques. He stopped at a door near the end. "This is yours." Patricia opened it and stepped into the most beautiful bedroom she'd ever seen. Huge windows overlooked the garden. A king-size bed with soft linens. A sitting area with a fireplace. An attached bathroom she could see through an open door. "There's a walk-in closet," Ronald said, pointing. "Martha had some basics delivered, but we'll need to get you more clothes. Whatever you want. This is..." Patricia couldn't find words. "Yours," Ronald finished. "All of it. My room is at the other end of the hall. Far enough that we won't disturb each other. Right. Separate lives. The arrangement." "Thank you," Patricia said quietly. Ronald nodded. He turned to leave, then paused. "Patricia." "Yes. What you said tonight. About making me wait. About wanting to be sure. That was good. Smart. It added depth to the story." "I'm glad you approved," Patricia said, unable to keep the edge from her voice. Something flashed in Ronald's eyes. Hurt. Anger. But his expression remained neutral. "Good night." "Good night." He left, closing the door softly behind him. Patricia stood alone in her beautiful prison of a bedroom and finally let herself feel everything she'd been holding back. The fear. The anger. The overwhelming sadness of it all. She'd married a stranger. Lied to a dying woman. Trapped herself in an arrangement that had no good ending. And the worst part? Part of her had liked Eleanor. Had felt something warm when Ronald's hand rested on her shoulder. Had found herself almost believing their own lie for brief moments. This was going to be so much harder than she'd thought. Patricia walked to the window and looked out at the gardens below. Moonlight bathed everything in silver. It was beautiful. Peaceful. Lonely. Somewhere in this massive house, Ronald was in his own room. Probably relieved the first performance was over. Probably already thinking about tomorrow's lies. Did he feel anything? Or was he really as cold and controlled as he seemed? Patricia's phone buzzed. A text from her father. "How did it go? Are you okay?" She typed back. "Fine. Everything's fine." Another lie. But what else could she say? She got ready for bed in the luxurious bathroom, washing her face with products that probably cost more than her old monthly rent. Changing into pajamas that had been laid out for her, expensive silk that felt like water against her skin. When she finally climbed into the enormous bed, she felt small. Lost. This was her life now. At least for the next 6 months. Maybe longer. Mrs. Patricia Taylor. Wife to a billionaire who didn't love her. Liar to a dying woman who deserved the truth. And somehow, despite everything, she had to make it work. Tomorrow, she'd wake up in this beautiful house. Play the role of devoted wife. Pretend everything was fine. But tonight, alone in the dark, she let herself cry for the life she'd lost. The choices she'd never had. The love she'd never know. Because Ronald K. Taylor might have married her, but he'd made one thing crystal clear. This would never be real. Sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows woke Patricia. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then reality crashed back. The marriage. The mansion. The arrangement. Her phone showed 7:30. She'd slept terribly, waking every hour, startled by the silence. Her old apartment had been noisy, traffic, neighbors, life happening through thin walls. Here, there was nothing but quiet. A soft knock at her door made her jump. Yes. Martha's voice came through. Good morning, Mrs. Taylor. I have breakfast ready downstairs whenever you'd like. Mrs. Taylor. She'd have to get used to that. Thank you, Martha. I'll be down in 20 minutes. Patricia showered quickly in the marble bathroom, using fancy soaps she couldn't name. The closet Ronald mentioned held basics, jeans, simple tops, a few dresses. All in her size. All expensive labels. How had he known her size? The thought made her uncomfortable. She dressed in jeans and a cream sweater, applied minimal makeup, and headed downstairs. The house looked different in daylight. Less intimidating. More like a home. Martha was in the kitchen, a massive space with commercial-grade appliances and a breakfast nook overlooking the garden. Good morning, dear. How did you sleep? Fine, Patricia lied. Thank you. Mr. Taylor had to leave early for a court appearance. He said to tell you he'd be back by 6. There's fresh coffee, and I can make you anything you'd like for breakfast. Ronald was already gone. Of course. Back to his real life while she figured out what to do with herself all day. Just coffee and toast is fine, Patricia said. Martha frowned. That's not enough. You're far too thin. She was already pulling out eggs and vegetables. I'll make you an omelet. You need your strength. It reminded Patricia so much of her mother that her throat tightened. Thank you. While Martha cooked, Patricia sipped coffee and looked around the kitchen. Family photos on the refrigerator caught her eye. Ronald as a child, Eleanor had been right, he was chubby and adorable. Ronald in his law school graduation gown. Ronald and a beautiful blonde woman on what looked like their wedding day. His first wife. The one who died. Patricia studied the photo. The woman was laughing, looking at Ronald with obvious adoration. And Ronald, he looked happy. Genuinely, completely happy. His smile was real. His eyes were bright. Nothing like the cold, controlled man she'd married. What happened to change him? Was it just grief? Or something more? That's Catherine, Martha said softly, noticing what Patricia was looking at. She was lovely. Kind to everyone. Mr. Taylor was devastated when she passed. How did it happen? Car accident. Drunk driver ran a red light. She died instantly. Martha's eyes were sad. Mr. Taylor was never the same after. He buried himself in work. Built his firm into an empire. But he stopped living, you know? Just existing. Patricia's heart hurt for him despite herself. To lose someone you loved that way. Eleanor worried about him constantly, Martha continued. Kept trying to set him up with friends' daughters, colleagues, anyone. But he refused. Said he'd never love again. Never marry again. And yet here Patricia was. His wife. In name only. What made him finally agree to marry? Just his mother's illness? Or something else? Then you came along, Martha said with a warm smile. And Eleanor said it was like watching him wake up from a long sleep. Like he'd finally found his way back to life. Guilt twisted in Patricia's stomach. If only Martha knew the truth. The omelet was delicious, fluffy and perfectly seasoned. Martha hovered like a mother hen, making sure Patricia ate every bite. Now, Martha said once breakfast was cleared. What would you like to do today? Mr. Taylor said you have free reign of the house and grounds. There's a library on the second floor, a gym in the basement, the gardens are beautiful. A library. That sounded perfect. Somewhere quiet to think. The library sounds nice. Martha led her upstairs to a room Patricia hadn't seen the night before. She opened the door and Patricia gasped. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined 3 walls. A huge window let in natural light. Comfortable chairs were scattered around. A rolling ladder gave access to the higher shelves. It was perfect. Mr. Taylor spends a lot of time in here, Martha said. He loves to read. History, philosophy, classic literature. Catherine used to tease him about being an old soul. Patricia walked along the shelves, running her fingers over spines. Legal texts. Biographies. Fiction classics. Poetry. Philosophy. She pulled out a worn copy of Jane Eyre and opened it. On the inside cover, in elegant handwriting, "To Ronald, may you find your happy ending. Love, Catherine." A gift from his dead wife. Patricia carefully put it back. "I'll leave you to explore," Martha said. "Just call if you need anything." Patricia spent the morning lost in books. She curled up in a leather chair by the window and tried to read, but her mind kept wandering. What was Ronald doing right now? Was he in court, destroying someone's arguments with that cool, controlled demeanor? Did he think about her at all? Or had he already compartmentalized their arrangement, filed it away in his mind like just another deal? Around noon, her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello. Patricia, it's Ronald." Her heart did a stupid little jump at his voice. "Oh, hi. I wanted to check in. See how you're settling in." "Fine. Martha's been very kind." "Good. Listen, I need to brief you on some things. My family is having dinner this Sunday. They'll all want to meet you. We'll need to be convincing." "Right. The performance. Okay. Can you be ready by 6 tonight? We should go over the details. Our story needs to be airtight." "I'll be ready." "Good. I'll see you then." He hung up without saying goodbye. Patricia stared at her phone. So businesslike. So cold. This was her life now. The afternoon dragged. Patricia explored more of the house, finding a music room with a beautiful grand piano, a home theater, a wine cellar that probably cost more than most people's houses. All of it beautiful. All of it empty. She found herself back in the library, curled up with a novel she couldn't focus on, watching the clock. At 5:30, she went to her room to freshen up. Changed into a simple blue dress that Martha had hung in the closet. Applied makeup carefully. Playing dress-up for her pretend husband. At exactly 6, she heard the front door open. Ronald's voice echoed up the stairs as he spoke to Martha. Patricia's stomach fluttered with nerves. Which was ridiculous. They were married. She'd already met him. Spent time with him yesterday. But somehow, hearing him in the house made everything feel more real. She went downstairs. Ronald was in the kitchen, tie loosened, suit jacket off, looking tired. When he saw her, something flickered in his eyes. "That dress is nice. Thank you." Awkward silence stretched between them. "Martha left dinner in the warming drawer," Ronald said finally. "Should we eat while we talk?" They sat at the breakfast nook, more intimate than the formal dining room Patricia had glimpsed earlier. Martha had left chicken, roasted vegetables, and fresh bread. "So," Ronald said, serving them both. "Sunday dinner. My family. Tell me about them. My father died when I was in law school. Heart attack. It's been me and my mother since then. But I have an uncle, my father's brother, who's still alive. Marcus. He has 3 kids. My cousins." Patricia pulled out her phone. "I should take notes." Ronald looked surprised. "That's smart. Yes, take notes." As they ate, he outlined his family tree. Uncle Marcus, serious and traditional. Cousin David, a surgeon. Cousin Rachel, a professor. Cousin Lisa, who worked in finance. David's married to Simone. They have 2 kids, Tyler, who's 7, and Emma, who's 4. Rachel's engaged to a guy named Philip. Lisa's single. Patricia wrote it all down. What should I know about them? Personality-wise. David's competitive. He'll probably ask questions to trip you up. Rachel's kind but perceptive, she'll be able to tell if we're faking. Lisa's. Ronald paused. Lisa had feelings for me once. Years ago. Before Catherine. She won't be happy about our marriage. Great. A hostile cousin to deal with. Anyone else I should worry about? Uncle Marcus can be judgmental. He'll want to know your background, your family's standing. He's very traditional about marriage being about equal partnerships, meaning equal social status. So he'll look down on me. Patricia's voice was flat. Probably, Ronald admitted. But I don't care what he thinks. Easy for you to say. Ronald's jaw tightened. Patricia, I grew up with these people. I know how to handle them. Just follow my lead. I'm not a puppet, Ronald. I didn't say you were. You're talking about me like I'm a project you need to prepare for. Your family is going to judge me, and I'm just supposed to smile and take it. What do you want me to say? Ronald's voice rose slightly. That they'll welcome you with open arms? That being married to me won't come with complications? This is reality. Patricia stood up. Well, reality sucks. You agreed to this. Because I didn't have a choice. The words hung in the air between them. True and awful. Ronald's expression closed off. You had a choice. You chose to save your family. And you chose to marry a stranger to make your dying mother happy. So I guess we're both liars. She walked out before he could respond, her heart pounding. In her room, Patricia paced. That had been stupid. Picking a fight with Ronald when they needed to present a united front. But something about his cold, controlled demeanor made her want to crack it. To see if there was anything human underneath. A knock at her door. Go away, she called. The knock came again. Insistent. Patricia yanked the door open. Ronald stood there, still in his work clothes, looking frustrated. We need to talk, he said. I think we said enough. No. We didn't. He stepped into her room without invitation, closing the door behind him. You want to know the truth? About why I really married you? Patricia's breath caught. What? You asked yesterday why you specifically. Why I chose your father's debt to solve. And Ronald ran a hand through his hair, messing it up in a way that made him look younger. More vulnerable. I saw you. At that charity gala I mentioned. You really were there with your students. I noticed you across the room. Patricia's heart started pounding. You were laughing at something one of your students said. Really laughing. Like you didn't have a care in the world. And I thought. He paused, struggling with the words. I thought you looked like someone who still believed life could be good. Despite everything. I don't understand. When I found out about your father's debt, purely by accident, one of my paralegals mentioned it, I saw an opportunity. I needed a wife who could convince my mother I'd found love again. But I wanted someone who wouldn't expect real love from me. Someone with their own reasons for agreeing. So you used me. Yes, Ronald said bluntly. I used you. Just like you're using this arrangement to save your family. We're using each other. The honesty was almost refreshing. But, Ronald continued, I didn't expect you to be so. So what? Real. He looked at her with those intense gray eyes. You were real with my mother last night. You made her genuinely happy. That wasn't acting. Part of it was, Patricia admitted quietly. But not all of it. And at dinner tonight, when you got angry at me, that was real too. You're not some puppet playing a role. You're a person with feelings and opinions, and I was treating you like a business transaction. Patricia didn't know what to say. I'm sorry, Ronald said. I'm sorry for being cold. For making you feel like you don't matter. You do matter. Why? Because you're my wife. Even if it's temporary, even if it's an arrangement, you deserve better than being treated like you're invisible. Something in Patricia's chest loosened. Thank you. They stood in silence for a moment. The tension from earlier had shifted into something else. Something almost comfortable. "Tell me about your family," Ronald said suddenly. "For real, not the version we'll tell mine." "Who are they?" Patricia moved to sit on her bed. After a moment, Ronald sat in the armchair across from her. "My mom died 5 years ago," Patricia started. "Cancer. She was the heart of our family. Kind, strong, always putting everyone else first. I miss her every single day." "I'm sorry." "My dad, he's a good man who made bad business decisions. He tried so hard after Mom died to keep everything together, to provide for me and my brother. But he was drowning in grief, and the business suffered. By the time he realized how bad it was too late." "And your brother?" "Dante. He's 17. Smart, funny, wants to be an engineer. This whole mess has been hardest on him. He had to leave his private school, lost his friends. He's angry at Dad, angry at the world." Patricia's voice cracked. "He was angry at me too when I told him I was getting married. Said I was selling myself." Ronald flinched. "Is that what you think you did?" "I don't know. Maybe. But I'd do it again to give him a chance at college. At a future. He deserves that. You're a good sister." "I'm a sister who lied to him about loving the man I married. So I'm not sure about good." Ronald was quiet for a moment. "Do you want him to know the truth?" Patricia looked up sharply. "What? The arrangement? The time limit? All of it? Do you want to tell Dante the truth?" "God, no. He'd lose his mind. He'd probably try to rescue me, or something dramatic. Then we'll make sure he believes it too. Your whole family. We'll sell this so well that no one questions it." "Why do you care if my family believes it?" Ronald's expression was hard to read. "Because you care. And if we're going to do this, we should do it right. For both our sakes." It was the kindest thing he'd said to her since they'd met. "Okay," Patricia whispered. "We'll do it right." Ronald stood. "Sunday dinner is at Uncle Marcus's house. 4 p.m. I'll pick out something appropriate for you to wear." "And Patricia." "Yes. When we're with my family, I'm going to touch you. Hold your hand. Maybe kiss you. It needs to look real. Is that okay?" Her stomach flipped. "Yes. Good. Get some rest. Tomorrow we'll go shopping. You need a proper wardrobe." After he left, Patricia lay back on her bed and stared at the ceiling. This man who she'd thought was cold and heartless had just apologized to her. Had asked about her family. Had told her she mattered. Maybe Ronald K. Taylor wasn't as unfeeling as he pretended to be. Or maybe that was dangerous thinking. She couldn't afford to develop real feelings for a man who'd made it clear this marriage had an expiration date. But as she drifted off to sleep, she couldn't stop thinking about the way he'd looked at her across the room. The way he'd said, "You're real," like it surprised him. Like maybe he wasn't expecting to actually like his temporary wife. And that was a problem. Because Patricia was starting to think she might actually like him too. The next morning, Ronald knocked on Patricia's door at 9 sharp. "Ready to shop?" he asked when she opened it. Patricia had never been much of a shopper, but she nodded. "Sure." They drove into downtown Charleston in Ronald's Mercedes. He'd traded his usual suit for dark jeans and a button-down shirt, the most casual she'd seen him. It made him look approachable. Almost normal. "Where are we going?" Patricia asked. "King Street. Best shopping in Charleston. You'll need cocktail dresses, casual wear, something for Sunday dinner, and a few formal gowns." "Formal gowns? For what?" "I have several charity galas coming up. You'll need to attend as my wife." "Right. More performances." They spent the next 3 hours in boutiques Patricia had only dreamed of entering before. Ronald sat patiently while she tried on dress after dress, giving his opinion when asked. "That color washes you out," he'd say. Or, "That one's perfect." get it in 3 colors. He had surprisingly good taste. And he seemed to genuinely enjoy watching her model the clothes, though his expression remained mostly neutral. In a small boutique near the end of King Street, Patricia found a dress that made her breath catch. Deep emerald green, form-fitting but elegant, with a neckline that was sophisticated without being revealing. She stepped out of the dressing room to show Ronald. His reaction was immediate. His eyes widened slightly, his jaw tightened, and for a moment, he just stared. "What?" Patricia asked, suddenly self-conscious. "Is it too much?" "No." His voice was rough. "It's perfect. You look beautiful." The compliment hit differently than his other comments. There was something in his tone. Something real. "Thank you," Patricia said softly. "Get it. For Sunday." In the shoe department of a high-end store, Patricia tried on heels she couldn't even imagine affording before. Ronald watched her walk in each pair with a critical eye. "Those are too high," he said of one pair. "You'll be uncomfortable after an hour." "How would you know?" Catherine used to complain about her feet hurting at events. "I learned to pay attention to heel height." It was the first time he'd mentioned his first wife directly to her. Patricia tread carefully. "She sounds like she was special." Ronald's expression shuddered slightly. "She was. Martha showed me your wedding photo. In the kitchen. You both looked so happy." "We were." "What was she like?" Ronald was quiet for so long Patricia thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Kind. Patient. She had this way of seeing the best in people. She believed I could build my firm into something meaningful, even when I doubted myself." "She sounds wonderful." "She was. And then she was gone." Ronald's voice was flat. "And I learned that loving someone that much just means you have that much more to lose." Patricia's heart ached for him. "Is that why you made our arrangement the way you did?" "No real feelings." "Partially." He met her eyes. "I can't go through that again. Losing someone. I won't survive it a second time." "So you'd rather feel nothing than risk feeling everything?" Yes. It was honest. Brutally so. But it also made Patricia sad. This man had loved deeply once. Had been happy. And now he was so scared of pain that he'd locked his heart away completely. Could someone like that ever learn to love again? Even if he wanted to. After shopping, they stopped for lunch at a waterfront cafe. Sitting across from Ronald with the harbor behind him, watching sailboats drift by, Patricia almost felt like they were a normal couple on a normal date. "Tell me about your law firm," she said, wanting to know more about him. "You built it from nothing?" Ronald nodded. "I started it 3 years out of law school. 1 office, 1 paralegal, and a dream. Now we have 60 attorneys across 3 offices." "That's incredible." "It's work." He sipped his water. "But it's work I believe in. Corporate litigation sounds boring, but we help companies survive hostile takeovers, protect employee rights during mergers, fight patent theft. It matters." The passion in his voice surprised her. This wasn't just about money for him. It was about justice. "Do you miss teaching?" he asked suddenly. "Every day," Patricia admitted. "I loved seeing kids learn. That moment when something clicks and they get it. There's nothing like it." "Why did you become a teacher?" "My mom was a teacher. Elementary school. She always said education was the great equalizer. That it could give kids opportunities they'd never have otherwise. I wanted to honor that." Ronald studied her. "You could go back, you know. After everything. After the divorce. After his mother passed. After their arrangement ended." "Maybe," Patricia said. "Or maybe I'll do something different. I've always thought about getting my master's in education policy. Making changes on a bigger scale." "You should. You'd be good at it." "How would you know?" "Because you care." Real change comes from people who actually care, not from people just looking for power. It was insightful. More than she'd expected from him. Their food came. She'd ordered a crab cake sandwich, he had a burger, and they ate in companionable silence. "I have a question," Patricia said after a while. "About Sunday." "Okay." "Your cousin Lisa. The one who had feelings for you. How do I handle her?" Ronald's jaw tightened. "Kill her with kindness. She'll try to get under your skin, make you feel inadequate. Don't give her the satisfaction." "What did you tell her?" "When you and Catherine got married. That I was sorry, but I loved Catherine. Lisa didn't take it well. She stopped speaking to me for 2 years. And now you're married again. To someone else. She's going to hate me. Probably. But that's her problem, not yours." Easy for him to say. He didn't have to be the new wife facing off against a woman who'd wanted his affection for years. After lunch, they walked along the waterfront. Ronald's phone kept buzzing with work calls, but he ignored them. "Don't you need to answer those?" Patricia asked. "They can wait. Today is about you." Something warm bloomed in Patricia's chest. Dangerous. She pushed it down. They passed a street musician playing guitar. The song was beautiful and sad, something about lost love and second chances. Ronald surprised her by stopping to listen. When the song ended, he dropped $100 bill in the musician's case. "That's generous," Patricia said. "Good music deserves to be rewarded." They kept walking. Without thinking about it, their hands brushed. Patricia pulled away, but Ronald caught her fingers, lacing them with his. "Practice," he said quietly. "For Sunday." "Right. Practice." But his hand was warm, and holding it felt natural. Comfortable. Dangerous. They walked like that for a while, hand in hand, looking like any other couple enjoying a beautiful day. No one looking at them would know the truth. That they were strangers. That this was all pretend. Patricia found herself wishing it was real. Which was stupid. Reckless. Everything she couldn't afford to feel. When they got back to the house, Martha helped bring in the shopping bags. There were at least a dozen. "Oh my," Martha exclaimed. "Mr. Taylor really spoiled you." "He did," Patricia agreed, looking at Ronald. Something passed between them. A moment of understanding. Of connection. Then Ronald's phone rang, a call he couldn't ignore this time, and the moment shattered. "I have to take this," he said. "Work emergency. I'll be in my office." He disappeared down the hall, already deep in conversation about litigation strategy and discovery deadlines. Back to being Ronald K. Taylor, powerful attorney. Not Ronnie, the man who'd held her hand and bought her emerald dresses. Martha helped Patricia hang up the new clothes in her closet. "He's different with you," Martha said as she worked. "What do you mean?" "More present. Like he's actually here instead of just going through motions." Martha smiled. "Eleanor was right. You're good for him." Patricia's guilt flared. If only Martha knew. That evening, Patricia ate dinner alone. Martha said Ronald was tied up in conference calls. She went to bed early, exhausted from the day. But she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Ronald's hand in hers. The way he'd looked at her in the emerald dress. The vulnerability in his voice when he talked about Catherine. This man was more than the cold, controlled exterior he showed the world. There were layers, depth, pain and passion buried underneath. And Patricia was starting to want to know all of it. Which was a problem. Because in 6 months, maybe less, this would all end. Ronald would go back to his life. She'd go back to hers. The arrangement would dissolve like it never happened. She couldn't afford to care about him. Couldn't risk developing feelings for a man who'd made it clear he couldn't love again. But as she lay in the dark, listening to the quiet house, she admitted the truth to herself. It might already be too late. Because somewhere between the wedding and today, between the lies and the shopping trip, between the cold businessman and the vulnerable man who still mourned his wife, Patricia had started to fall for Ronald K. Taylor. And that was the most dangerous thing she could do. Sunday came too fast. Patricia woke with her stomach in knots. Today she'd meet Ronald's entire family. Today the real performance would begin. She spent an hour getting ready, hair in soft waves, makeup perfect but not overdone, the emerald dress that Ronald had loved. Diamond earrings he'd given her the night before, saying they completed the look. When she came downstairs, Ronald was waiting in the foyer. He wore a navy suit that fit him perfectly, looking every inch the successful billionaire. His eyes found her immediately, and something in his expression shifted, softened. "You look stunning," he said quietly. "Thank you. You look nice too." He offered his arm. "Ready to face the family?" "No. But let's do it anyway." The drive to Uncle Marcus's house took 20 minutes. Ronald briefed her again on names, relationships, potential topics to avoid. "Remember," he said as they pulled up to an impressive Tudor-style home, "we're madly in love. Met at a charity gala, couldn't stay away from each other. I pursued you relentlessly until you agreed to go out with me. Got it? And Patricia?" He turned to look at her. "If anyone makes you uncomfortable, if Lisa or Uncle Marcus says something out of line, just squeeze my hand. I'll handle it." It was protective, sweet, even. Patricia's traitorous heart fluttered. Ronald came around to open her door, offering his hand to help her out. Then, before she could prepare herself, he pulled her close and kissed her forehead. "For practice," he murmured against her skin. But it felt like more than practice. It felt tender, real. The front door opened before they reached it. A tall man in his 60s stood there, Uncle Marcus, Patricia guessed from Ronald's description. "Ronald." Finally. Marcus's smile was warm but assessing. His eyes immediately went to Patricia. "And this must be your bride." "Uncle Marcus, this is Patricia." "Patricia, my Uncle Marcus." Patricia extended her hand. "It's wonderful to meet you." Marcus took her hand but didn't shake it. He kissed it, European style. "The pleasure is mine. Ronald told us so little about you. We've been dying of curiosity." "Good things, I hope," Patricia said with a smile. "Mysterious things. Come in, come in." The house was full of people. Cousins and their spouses. Children running around. The noise and warmth hit Patricia like a wave. A beautiful woman in her 40s approached, Rachel, Patricia recognized from photos Ronald had shown her. "You must be Patricia. Oh, let me look at you." Rachel took both her hands, studying her with kind eyes. "You're even lovelier than Ronald said." "Thank you. It's so nice to meet you. And this must be the blushing groom." A man who could only be David clapped Ronald on the back. "Married and didn't even tell us until it was done. We're wounded, Ron." "It was quick," Ronald said, his hand finding Patricia's waist and pulling her against him. "When you know, you know." The easy lie rolled off his tongue. Patricia tried not to think about how natural it felt to be pressed against his side. "Quick is right," a cool voice said behind them. 6 months from meeting to married? That's quite a whirlwind." Patricia turned to find herself facing a striking woman in her late 30s. Blonde, perfectly dressed, with eyes that assessed Patricia like a threat. "Lisa, when it's right, why wait?" Patricia said, keeping her voice pleasant. She felt Ronald's hand tighten on her waist. "Support." "How modern," Lisa said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm Lisa, by the way. Ronald and I go way back. I'm sure he's told you all about me." "He mentioned you, yes," Patricia said neutrally. "Well, he's never mentioned you. Isn't that strange?" "Not until suddenly you were married." Lisa's tone was light, but the implication was clear. Rachel jumped in. "Lisa, don't be rude. Love doesn't always come with a warning label." No, it doesn't, Ronald said, his voice cooling. Patricia, would you like some wine? I know Rachel has a wonderful selection. He guided her away from Lisa before she could respond. Once they were out of earshot, he leaned close. I'm sorry about her. It's fine. She's exactly what I expected. Still, she has no right to be hostile. She's protecting you. In her mind, I'm some stranger who trapped you into marriage. Ronald's jaw tightened. You didn't trap anyone. Dinner was called before Patricia could respond. The dining room was elegant, with a long table set for 12. Marcus sat at the head, with Ronald and Patricia to his right. As the meal progressed, the questions came. Where was Patricia from? What did her family do? How had she and Ronald met? Patricia answered carefully, weaving in truth where she could. She talked about her mother being a teacher, about her own love of education. She told the story of meeting Ronald at the gala, how he'd been persistent and charming. And your father? Marcus asked. What's his profession? Patricia's stomach clenched. This was the dangerous territory. He was in manufacturing. He's recently retired. A polite way of saying his business collapsed. Manufacturing what? Marcus pressed. Automotive parts. Truth, at least. Interesting. What company? Patricia named her father's old company, hoping Marcus wouldn't dig deeper. But she saw the recognition. In his eyes. He knew. He'd probably researched her family the moment Ronald announced the marriage. That company had some difficulties recently, didn't it? Marcus's tone was casual, but the question was pointed. Ronald's hand found Patricia's under the table, squeezing. Patricia's father made the smart choice to get out before the market shifted, he said smoothly. Now he's enjoying his retirement. How fortunate, Lisa said with false sweetness. To have a daughter marry so well, right when he needed it most. The implication hung in the air. Gold digger. That's what Lisa was suggesting. Patricia felt anger flash hot in her chest, but before she could respond, Ronald spoke. Actually, I'm the fortunate one. His voice was steel wrapped in velvet. Patricia could have had her choice of men. Teachers are in high demand, kind, intelligent, dedicated. I had to work hard to convince her I was worth her time. He lifted Patricia's hand to his lips, kissing it while maintaining eye contact with Lisa. The gesture was possessive, claiming. Patricia's heart raced. How romantic, Lisa said, but her smile was tight. The rest of dinner was less tense, though Patricia felt Lisa's eyes on her constantly. David asked about their honeymoon plans. Rachel wanted to know if they were thinking about children. Uncle Marcus lectured about the importance of family legacy. Through it all, Ronald played his part perfectly. His hand on her back. His fingers playing with hers during dessert. Small smiles directed her way. To anyone watching, he was a man in love. And Patricia found herself responding naturally. Leaning into his touch. Laughing at his dry humor. Meeting his eyes across the table with warmth she didn't have to fake. It should have felt like acting. Like a performance. But it didn't. After dinner, the group moved to Marcus's impressive living room. Kids played in the corner while adults talked. Patricia found herself cornered by Rachel and Simone, David's wife. So, Rachel said with genuine warmth, tell us what it's really like being married to Ronald. He's always been so serious. Does he lighten up at home? Patricia thought about Ronald holding her hand on the waterfront. About him buying her the emerald dress. About the vulnerability in his voice when he talked about not surviving losing someone again. He's different at home, Patricia said truthfully. More relaxed. More himself. That's wonderful, Simone said. Catherine used to say the same thing. That he was softer with her than anyone else saw. The mention of Catherine made Patricia's chest tight. How could she compete with a ghost? A woman who'd been perfect, kind, beloved? She couldn't. And she shouldn't try. This wasn't real. Ronald didn't love her. Would never love her. But then she looked across the room and found Ronald watching her. When their eyes met, he smiled. A small, private smile just for her. And her heart betrayed her by skipping a beat. Lisa approached while Simone and Rachel were distracted by the children. She sat next to Patricia with the grace of a predator. "Can we talk?" Lisa asked. "Just us girls." Patricia's guard went up. "Of course. I want to apologize if I came across as hostile earlier. I care about Ronald. I've known him since we were kids. I understand. Do you?" Lisa's eyes were sharp. "Do you understand that he loved Catherine with everything he had? That when she died, part of him died too?" "He's told me about her." "Has he told you that he swore he'd never love anyone again? That he spent 8 years building walls so high no one could get through?" Patricia's throat felt tight. People can change. Can they? Or did you just happen to come along at the right time, when his mother was dying and desperate to see him settled? Lisa leaned closer. "I did some research on you, Patricia. Your father's company didn't just have difficulties. It collapsed. Spectacularly. Owing millions." Patricia's blood ran cold. "And then suddenly," Lisa continued, "Ronald swoops in. Pays off debts. Marries the daughter. Very convenient for your family, isn't it?" "You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't I? I've known Ronald for 30 years. He doesn't do anything without a reason. Without a plan. So what's his plan with you? What's he getting out of this marriage besides a pretty wife to show off?" Patricia wanted to defend herself. To tell Lisa the truth, that yes, it was an arrangement, but it was complicated. That Ronald needed this as much as she did. But she couldn't say any of that. "I love Ronald," she said instead, forcing conviction into her voice. "And he loves me. That's all that matters." "Does he?" Lisa's smile was cruel. "Because from where I'm sitting, you look like a rebound at best. A transaction at worst. And when Eleanor passes, when Ronald doesn't need to put on the show anymore, where will that leave you?" The words hit too close to home. Because Lisa was right. This was temporary. Patricia was a transaction. A performance for a dying woman. When it ended, she'd be discarded. Lisa stood. "I just think you should know what you're getting into. Ronald will never love you the way he loved Catherine. You'll always be second choice. Always be compared to a ghost you can't compete with." She walked away, leaving Patricia feeling gutted. A hand touched her shoulder. "Ronald. What did Lisa say to you?" His voice was tight with anger. "Nothing. Just welcome to the family talk." "Patricia, I saw your face. What did she say?" "It doesn't matter. It matters to me." Patricia looked up at him. This man who'd married her out of necessity. Who'd made it clear he couldn't love again. Who would divorce her the moment his mother was gone. "She just reminded me of the truth," Patricia said quietly. "That's all." Before Ronald could respond, Marcus called for everyone's attention. He wanted to make a toast to the newlyweds. Patricia stood beside Ronald, his arm around her waist, while Marcus spoke about family and love and future generations. Everyone raised their glasses. Everyone smiled. And Patricia felt like the biggest fraud in the room. Because she was falling for a man who would never fall back. Who'd made it clear his heart died with his first wife. Who saw her as a solution to a problem, not as someone worth loving. Lisa had been cruel, but she hadn't been wrong. The drive home was quiet. Ronald seemed lost in thought, his hands tight on the steering wheel. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "For what?" "For Lisa. For putting you in that situation. I knew she'd be difficult, but I didn't think she'd be vicious." "She wasn't vicious. She was honest." Ronald's head whipped toward her. "What?" She told me I'll never be Catherine. That I'll always be second choice. That's true, isn't it? Patricia, isn't it? She turned to face him fully. You loved her. You still love her. You made this arrangement specifically because you don't want to risk loving someone again. So Lisa was right. Ronald pulled the car over abruptly, parking on a quiet street. He turned to face her, his expression intense. Lisa doesn't know anything about us. Neither do I. I don't know you, Ronald. Not really. I know you loved your wife. I know you're scared of losing someone again. I know you'd do anything for your mother. But beyond that, you're a stranger. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Patricia's voice cracked. I don't know what I want. This whole situation is impossible. I'm supposed to pretend to love you, but I'm not supposed to actually develop feelings. I'm supposed to convince everyone we're real, but remember that we're fake. How am I supposed to do that? Ronald stared at her, something shifting in his expression. Are you developing feelings? The question hung between them. Patricia could lie, could protect herself, keep her heart safe. But she was so tired of lying. I don't know, she whispered. Maybe. And that terrifies me because I know how this ends. Your mother passes, we get divorced, you move on with your life. I can't afford to actually fall for you. Ronald's jaw worked. For a long moment, he didn't say anything. Then, I didn't expect this either. Expect what? To actually like you. His voice was rough. To enjoy spending time with you. To look forward to coming home because you're there. Patricia's breath caught. Ronald, I know what I said. About not being able to love again. About keeping this purely transactional. But you're making that very difficult. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't know anymore. I don't know what this is or what it's becoming. I just know that when Lisa was attacking you tonight, I wanted to defend you. Not because of our arrangement, but because you're mine to defend. Mine. The possessive word sent heat through Patricia's veins. This is dangerous, she whispered. I know. We can't do this. We can't blur the lines. It'll only make everything harder when it ends. What if I don't want it to end? The words hung in the air between them. Impossible. Terrifying. Tempting. You don't mean that, Patricia said. Don't I? Ronald reached out, cupping her face with his hand. 6 months ago, I would have meant it. I would have stuck to the plan. But now, after spending time with you, after seeing you with my mother, holding my hand, standing up to Lisa, I'm not so sure anymore. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Patricia couldn't breathe. This is crazy, she whispered. Completely. Your mother would be thrilled if this became real. But it can't be real. We barely know each other. This started as a lie. Lots of things start one way and become something else. Ronald's eyes searched hers. I'm not saying I'm in love with you. I'm not saying I even know how to love anyone again. But I'm saying maybe we don't have to stick to the original plan. Maybe we could see where this goes. For real. Patricia's heart hammered. Part of her wanted to say yes. To take the risk. To see if this could become something real. But the other part, the cautious, self-protective part, remembered Lisa's words. Remembered that Ronald had loved Catherine desperately. That he'd sworn never to love again. What if he was just confused? What if he was mistaking convenience for affection? What if 6 months from now, after his mother passed, he woke up and regretted everything? I can't, Patricia said, pulling away from his touch. I can't risk my heart on a maybe. I've already lost too much. Ronald's hand dropped. His expression shuttered. I understand. Do you? You're protecting yourself. I respect that. Then you also respect that we need to keep to the original arrangement. Public affection, yes. Private relationship, no. If that's what you want. It's what's safe. Ronald started the car again. They drove the rest of the way in loaded silence. When they got home, Patricia went straight to her room. She stripped off the emerald dress, washed her face, and climbed into bed. But she couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the conversation. The way Ronald had looked at her when he said, "Maybe we could see where this goes." Had she made a mistake? Pushing him away? Insisting on boundaries? Or had she saved herself from inevitable heartbreak? A soft knock at her door made her jump. "It's open," she called, sitting up. Ronald stood in the doorway, still in his suit pants and white dress shirt, the tie gone. He looked disheveled. Uncertain. Not at all like the controlled billionaire lawyer she'd married. "I can't sleep," he said. "Neither can I. Can I come in?" Patricia should say no. Should protect the boundaries she'd just insisted on. Instead, she nodded. Ronald came in and sat on the edge of her bed. Not too close. Respecting her space. "I need to tell you something," he said. "About Catherine." Patricia's chest tightened. "Okay. I did love her. Completely. She was my best friend, my partner, everything. When she died, I wanted to die too. 4 months, I couldn't function. My mother practically had to force me to eat, to shower, to keep living." Patricia's eyes stung with tears for his pain. "I swore I'd never love anyone again because I couldn't survive that kind of loss twice. It wasn't just about protecting my heart, it was about survival. Literally. I understand. But here's what I realized tonight, watching you handle my family. Watching Lisa attack you and you stand your ground. Watching you pretend to love me so convincingly that even I almost believed it." He turned to look at her. "Catherine would have liked you. A lot. She would have told me I was an idiot for keeping you at arm's length." A tear slipped down Patricia's cheek. "You can't know that. I do know it. Because Catherine believed in second chances. In taking risks. In loving fully, even when it's scary. She would have kicked my ass for making this arrangement in the first place." "Then why did you?" "Because I'm a coward." Ronald's voice cracked. "I'm terrified, Patricia. Of feeling. Of losing. Of going through that pain again. The arrangement felt safe. Controlled. I could check the box of being married, make my mother happy, and keep my heart locked away. And now I'm realizing that locking my heart away means never really living. Catherine's been gone 8 years. 8 years of just existing. Going through motions. Building a company, but not a life." He reached for Patricia's hand. She let him take it. "I'm not asking you to love me," Ronald said quietly. "I'm not even saying I'm capable of loving you back. But I'm asking if we could try. Really try. Not as an arrangement. Not as a performance. But as two people who might have something real if we're brave enough to find out. What would you do? Tell me in the comments." Patricia looked at their joined hands. At this complicated wounded man who was offering her something terrifying and wonderful at the same time. She could say no. Keep protecting her heart. Walk away from the risk. Or she could take a chance on maybe. On possibility. On the idea that sometimes the scariest thing is also the rightest thing. "Okay," she whispered. Ronald's eyes widened. "Okay. Let's try. For real. No guarantees, no promises we can't keep. Just trying." The smile that spread across Ronald's face transformed him. Made him look younger. Hopeful. He lifted her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles softly. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. I have conditions." "Of course you do." But he was still smiling. "No more separate lives. If we're doing this, we actually get to know each other. Real conversations. Real time together." "Agreed." And we tell your mother the truth. Eventually. When she's strong enough. I don't want our relationship built on a lie anymore. Ronald hesitated. That one's harder. But, okay. When the time is right. And if this doesn't work out, we'll handle it with honesty and respect, Ronald finished. No sudden divorce. No cruelty. We'll figure it out together. Together. The word felt right. One more thing, Patricia said. Anything. If you kiss me, I want it to be real. Not for show. Not for practice. Real. Ronald's eyes darkened. That can be arranged. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. But Patricia didn't pull away. She met him halfway. Their lips met softly at first. Testing. Exploring. Then Ronald's hand came up to cup her face, and the kiss deepened. It was nothing like their wedding kiss. This was heat and promise and the terrifying thrill of stepping off a cliff together. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Ronald rested his forehead against hers. That was real, he murmured. Very real, Patricia agreed. He kissed her again, softer this time. Sweet. Then he stood. I should go. Let you sleep. You could stay. The words were out before Patricia could stop them. Ronald's eyes flashed with heat, but he shook his head. Not yet. I want to do this right. Date you properly. Court you. All the things I didn't get to do because we jumped straight to married. It was old-fashioned and sweet and made Patricia's heart melt. Okay, she said. Court me then. Plan on it. He headed for the door, then paused. Patricia. Yes. I'm glad you agreed to this. The arrangement, even though it started wrong, I think maybe it's becoming right. After he left, Patricia lay back in bed with a smile on her face. She was taking a huge risk. Opening herself up to potential heartbreak. Trying to build something real with a man who'd sworn he couldn't love again. But maybe, just maybe, it would be worth it. Maybe Ronald K. Taylor could learn to love again. And maybe Patricia W. McKee was exactly the woman who could teach him. The next morning, Patricia woke to the smell of coffee and something sweet baking. She smiled, remembering last night. The kiss. The decision to try for real. When she came downstairs, she found Ronald in the kitchen with Martha, both laughing about something. Ronald looked up and smiled. A real smile that reached his eyes. Good morning. Morning, Patricia said, suddenly shy. I made pancakes, Ronald announced. Well, Martha supervised while I made pancakes. Turns out I'm terrible at them. Martha chuckled. He burned the first batch completely. But we salvaged these. Patricia sat at the breakfast nook while Ronald served her a stack of slightly uneven pancakes. They were a little crispy around the edges, but the gesture made her heart warm. Thank you, she said. Ronald sat across from her with his own plate. I thought we could spend the day together. Get to know each other properly. Like we should have before getting married. I'd like that. Martha excused herself with a knowing smile, leaving them alone. So, Ronald said, pouring syrup over his pancakes. Tell me something I don't know about you. Something real. Patricia thought for a moment. I'm terrified of thunderstorms. Have been since I was a kid. During storms, I still hide under blankets like I'm 6 years old. Ronald's eyes softened. That's adorable, actually. Your turn. Tell me something real. He was quiet, thinking. I play piano. Not well, but it helps me think. Late at night when I can't sleep, I go to the music room and just play. Usually classical pieces my mother taught me as a kid. Patricia thought about the grand piano she'd seen. Will you play for me sometime? If you want. They spent breakfast trading small revelations. Ronald admitted he was obsessed with old black and white movies. Patricia confessed she couldn't cook to save her life. Ronald said his favorite place in the world was a small beach in North Carolina where his parents used to take him as a kid. Patricia told him about the time she accidentally set her college dorm room on fire trying to make popcorn. It felt easy, natural, like they'd been doing this for years instead of days. After breakfast, Ronald suggested a walk through the gardens. The grounds were extensive, acres of carefully manicured lawns, flower beds, and winding paths. They walked hand in hand, not for show this time, but because they both wanted to. "Tell me about your law firm," Patricia said. "What kind of cases do you take?" Ronald launched into an explanation of corporate litigation, patent disputes, merger conflicts, hostile takeover defenses. His passion for the work was evident in every word. "It sounds like you're fighting dragons," Patricia observed. "Protecting the weak from the strong." "Sometimes it feels like that. Other times it feels like I'm just making rich people richer." "Is that why you do pro bono work? The education reform you mentioned?" Ronald looked surprised. "You remember that?" "I remember everything about our fake meeting story. But is it true? Do you actually work on education issues?" "I do. My firm takes on cases against predatory student loan companies, fights for public school funding, challenges discriminatory education policies. Catherine believed education could change the world. I kept that work going after she died. As a way to honor her." Patricia squeezed his hand. "That's beautiful." They sat on a bench overlooking a pond. Ducks glided across the water, and the morning sun made everything look golden. "Can I ask you something?" Patricia said. "Anything. When you saw me at that gala, the real one, what made you notice me?" Ronald was quiet for a moment. "You were laughing with your students. One of them had said something funny, and you just lit up. Everyone around you was networking, playing politics, being fake. But you were genuinely happy, present, alive. I remember thinking I hadn't felt that way in years." "And that made you think I'd be a good fake wife?" He winced. "When you say it like that, it sounds terrible." "It kind of was terrible. I know. But Patricia, even then, part of me knew you were different. Special. I just wasn't ready to admit that what I really wanted was to know you, not use you." Patricia turned to face him fully. "And now? Now I want to know everything. Your favorite color, your worst fear, what makes you laugh, what makes you cry. I want to earn the right to be your husband for real." Her heart melted. "Emerald green," she said softly. "What?" "My favorite color. It's emerald green. Like the dress you bought me." Ronald smiled. "I'll remember that." They spent the rest of the morning together. Ronald showed her his favorite parts of the garden, a rose arbor his mother had planted, a meditation spot by the pond. Patricia told him stories about her students, about the joy of watching kids discover reading. After lunch, Ronald had to take a work call. Patricia wandered to the library and found herself drawn to the Jane Eyre that Catherine had given him. She opened it carefully, reading the inscription again. "May you find your happy ending." Catherine had wanted Ronald to be happy. Even knowing what Patricia knew now about their love, she believed that. She believed in happy endings. Could Patricia give Ronald that? Could they really build something real from this broken beginning? A sound from the doorway made her look up. Ronald stood there, watching her. "I wondered if you'd find that," he said quietly. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have." "It's okay." He came into the room. "Catherine would want you to read it. She gave that to me 3 months before she died. Like she knew I'd need the reminder." "Do you think she'd approve?" "Of us?" "Of me." Ronald sat beside her on the window seat. "I think she'd tell me I was an idiot for waiting so long to let someone in again. She'd probably like you better than she liked me." Patricia laughed despite the tears in her eyes. "I doubt that. She had good taste in people. If she were here, she'd see what I'm starting to see." "What's that?" That you're exactly the kind of person worth taking a risk for. He kissed her then, soft and sweet, and Patricia let herself believe that maybe this could work. Maybe love could grow from the strangest beginnings. Part 6. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Ronald would leave for work in the morning, and Patricia would spend her days reading, exploring Charleston, and visiting Eleanor. Eleanor was getting weaker, but she was happy. Every time Patricia visited, she wanted to hear about their life together, their plans, their love story. And Patricia found it getting easier to tell the truth. Because parts of it were becoming real. Ronald came home every evening by 6. They'd have dinner together, talking about their days. He'd tell her about cases. She'd tell him about the books she was reading or the places she'd explored in the city. On weekends, they went on actual dates. Dinner at waterfront restaurants. Movies at the old theater downtown. A jazz concert in the park. Ronald was courting her, just like he'd promised. And Patricia was falling harder every day. One night, 3 weeks after their conversation, Ronald knocked on her bedroom door after dinner. "Can I show you something?" he asked. She followed him downstairs to the music room. He sat at the piano and patted the bench beside him. Patricia sat, and Ronald began to play. A classical piece she didn't recognize, but it was beautiful. Melancholic and hopeful at the same time. His fingers moved over the keys with practiced ease. His eyes closed, lost in the music. When he finished, Patricia had tears streaming down her face. "That was beautiful," she whispered. "It was Catherine's favorite," Ronald said quietly. "Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major. I couldn't play it for years after she died. It hurt too much. Why play it now?" He turned to look at her. "Because I'm ready to remember her with joy instead of just pain. Because you've helped me see that honoring her memory doesn't mean refusing to live." Patricia's breath caught. "I'm falling for you, Patricia," Ronald said, his voice raw with emotion. "I didn't think I could. I didn't think I wanted to. But I am. Completely. Terrifyingly. Really. Ronald. You don't have to say it back. I know it's fast. I know this started all wrong. But I needed you to know. This isn't pretend anymore. Not for me." Patricia cupped his face in her hands. "It's not pretend for me either. I'm falling for you too. Maybe I have been since you bought me that emerald dress and looked at me like I mattered." He kissed her then, deep and passionate. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Ronald rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me tonight," he whispered. "Not in separate rooms. With me." Patricia's heart raced. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." She let him lead her upstairs, not to her room or his, but to a guest suite she hadn't seen before. He'd prepared it, candles lit, soft music playing, rose petals on the bed. "When did you do this?" she asked, amazed. "This afternoon. I was hoping you'd say yes." They made love slowly, tenderly, discovering each other with wonder and care. It was nothing like the cold arrangement they'd started with. This was real. This was love beginning to bloom. Afterward, lying in Ronald's arms, Patricia felt complete in a way she never had before. "I love you," Ronald whispered into her hair. "I know it's fast, but I do. I love you, Patricia." She turned to face him, seeing the vulnerability in his eyes. This powerful man, laying his heart bare. "I love you too," she said, and meant it with everything she had. The next morning, they visited Eleanor together. The hospice nurse had called. Eleanor had taken a turn for the worse overnight. They found her in bed, looking smaller and more frail than ever. But when she saw them, her face lit up. "My darlings," she whispered. "Come sit with me." They sat on either side of her bed, each holding one of her hands. "I need to tell you something," Eleanor said, her voice weak but clear. "I know." Patricia's stomach dropped. "Know what?" "About the arrangement. About how this started." Ronald went pale. "Mom." Marcus told me. He did his research, found out about Patricia's father's debt, put the pieces together. He told me weeks ago, thinking I'd be upset. I'm so sorry, Patricia said, tears streaming. We never wanted to lie to you. Hush, child. Eleanor squeezed her hand. Let me finish. Marcus thought I'd be angry, that I'd feel betrayed. But you know what I felt. They both shook their heads. Hope. Because I saw the way Ronald looked at you even then. The way you looked at him. And I thought, maybe this arrangement will become something real. Maybe my son will let himself love again. You weren't upset? Ronald asked, his voice breaking. Darling boy, I was dying. I am dying. All I wanted was to see you happy before I go. And whether it started as an arrangement or not, you are happy. Both of you. I can see it. We do love each other, Patricia said fiercely. That's real. That's not pretend. I know, sweetheart. I know. Eleanor smiled weakly. That's why I'm not afraid anymore. I can let go knowing my Ronnie isn't alone. Knowing he found someone who sees him, really sees him. Someone brave enough to take on his wounded heart and help it heal. Ronald was crying openly now. Mom, I'm not ready to lose you. No one ever is. But Ronnie, you have to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll keep living. Keep loving. Don't let grief win again. You have Patricia now. Build a life. With her. Have babies. Grow old together. Be happy. That's all I've ever wanted for you. I promise, Ronald choked out. Eleanor turned to Patricia. And you, my beautiful daughter. Thank you. Thank you for being exactly what he needed. For being brave enough to love him despite everything. Thank you for raising someone worth loving, Patricia whispered. They sat with Eleanor for hours, talking softly, sharing memories, saying all the things that needed to be said. As the sun began to set, Eleanor grew quieter. Sleepier. I think I'll rest now, she murmured. You two should go home. Live your lives. Love each other. We'll come back tomorrow, Ronald promised. I'll be here, Eleanor said with a tired smile. Or I won't. Either way, I'll be at peace. They kissed her goodbye. Ronald held his mother's hand for a long moment, memorizing the feel of it. In the car on the way home, Ronald broke down completely. Patricia held him while he sobbed, releasing years of grief and fear and love. She knew, he kept saying. She always knew. And she was happy anyway. Because she saw what I see, Patricia said softly. A man capable of incredible love. A man worth fighting for. Eleanor passed away 3 days later, peacefully in her sleep. The funeral was beautiful. The family gathered, even Lisa, who surprised Patricia by offering a genuine hug and a whispered apology. I was wrong about you, Lisa said. I see that now. He loves you. Really loves you. I'm sorry for being cruel. Patricia accepted the apology with grace. At the reception afterward, Patricia stood beside Ronald, greeting mourners, accepting condolences. His hand never left hers. Uncle Marcus pulled them aside. I need to apologize, he said gruffly. I told Eleanor about the arrangement. I thought I was protecting her. But she told me I was a fool. That love doesn't care how it starts, only where it ends up. She was a wise woman, Ronald said. She was. And she was right about you too. I'm sorry for doubting. Welcome to the family, Patricia. For real this time. That night, back at the house that felt too quiet without Eleanor's presence, Ronald and Patricia lay in bed together. What happens now? Patricia asked. We don't have to pretend anymore. The arrangement is over. Ronald turned to face her, his eyes serious. The arrangement is over. But our marriage doesn't have to be. Unless you want it to be. What do you want? I want forever with you. I want to renew our vows, do it right this time. I want to make you my wife in every sense of the word, not because of debt or dying wishes, but because I choose you. Every day. For the rest of my life. Patricia's eyes filled with happy tears. I choose you too. Then marry me again. Properly this time. Big wedding, all our friends and family, no secrets. Just love. Yes. Patricia laughed through her tears. Yes, I'll marry you again. He kissed her then, and it tasted like promise. Like future. Like the happy ending Catherine had wished for him. 3 months later, they renewed their vows in the garden where they'd had their first real conversation. Dante walked Patricia down the aisle. Uncle Marcus officiated. Lisa caught the bouquet and laughed. When Ronald said, "I do," this time, there was no pretense. No arrangement. Just pure, simple, real love. And when Patricia said, "I do," she meant forever. They'd started as strangers. Forced together by circumstances and desperation. But they'd become something neither expected. They'd become real. That night, dancing under string lights in the garden, Ronald whispered in her ear, "Thank you for taking a chance on me. On us. Thank you for teaching me that love can grow in the strangest places," Patricia whispered back. And as they swayed together, surrounded by everyone they loved, Patricia thought about Eleanor. About Catherine. About all the people who'd loved Ronald and wanted him to be happy. She hoped they were watching. Hoped they knew. Ronald K. Taylor had found his happy ending. And so had Patricia W. McKee Taylor. Not despite how they'd started, but because of it. Because sometimes the best love stories begin with the most impossible circumstances. Sometimes arranged marriages become real ones. Sometimes wounded hearts learn to love again. Sometimes, if you're very lucky, a forced beginning becomes a chosen forever. 1 year later, Patricia sat in a rocking chair in the nursery, holding their 3-month-old daughter. Eleanor Grace Taylor had her father's gray eyes and her mother's smile. Ronald came in from work, loosening his tie. When he saw them, his whole face softened. "How are my girls?" he asked, kissing Patricia's head and gently touching the baby's cheek. "Perfect," Patricia said. "We're perfect." He sat on the floor beside the rocking chair, watching his wife and daughter with wonder. "I never thought I'd have this again," he admitted. "A family. Love. Real happiness. But you do. We do." Little Eleanor made a soft sound, and Ronald grinned. "She's going to be brilliant. Just like her mother. And stubborn. Just like her father." They laughed together, comfortable and content. Later, after the baby was asleep, they sat in the garden where they'd renewed their vows. The same bench where Patricia had first told Ronald her favorite color. "Do you ever think about how this started?" Patricia asked. "Every day. And every day I'm grateful. For the arrangement. For you saying yes. For taking the risk. For loving me when I didn't think I deserved it." Patricia leaned her head on his shoulder. "You know what's funny?" "What?" "Your one condition, that I pretend to love you. It was the easiest thing I've ever done. Because pretending became real so fast I barely noticed when it changed." Ronald kissed the top of her head. "Mine too." They sat in comfortable silence, watching stars appear in the darkening sky. Two people who'd been forced together had chosen to stay. Had built something real and beautiful from a broken beginning. Had proved that love doesn't always follow the rules. Sometimes it starts with a lie and becomes the truest thing you've ever known. Sometimes the impossible condition becomes the greatest gift. And sometimes, just sometimes, forced marriages have the happiest endings of all. Thank you for reading. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and comment below where you're watching from. Share this with someone who believes in second chances and unexpected love. What did you think of Ronald and Patricia's journey? Let me know in the comments.